Youth participation within the Nigerian political space has become increasingly significant, particularly with the signing of the Not Too Young to Run bill into law in 2018. In recent times, some youth-inspired agitations have captured the attention of the government, forcing a strategic change in some public policies. Without doubt, some persons have been appointed and elected to certain public offices. Analysts have described this development as mere tokenism, citing prevailing money politics, endemic corruption, undue influence of political hierarchy, and impoverished electorates as barriers that must be collectively pulled down if youths must take a rewarding claim to political leadership positions. The big question is, how can these challenges be surmounted? Hello and welcome to All About Nigeria, and I am your host, Romelia Aslamidu. The conversation begins in a moment. Stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us on All About Nigeria. Of course, on today's edition, we'll be taking a look at effective youth participation in politics and, of course, in governance. It's the very first one we're doing, and as we have conversations, we will definitely bring them up. And as we say to people, All About Nigeria is not just a program, it is a movement, and it is a progressive movement, a very positive one that we are looking at giving some kind of a shift in the political landscape of our dear nation, Nigeria. So we have some of our panelists around. I have the pleasure of introducing our panelists. Please, as I say your name, if you're present, just indicate by unmuting yourself and just say good morning to us. So let's get into it. I mean, it's so nice to understand that not only are we looking at Nigeria as a different entity and not trying to box it into what everybody else expects, understanding that we have a different journey that we live in Nigeria. The plight of the average Nigerian youth, is it self-inflicted burden or one that is born out of the necessity of the environment that we have found ourselves in?
So we have a multifaceted failure problem or things associated to happening to our youth today. It stems from the house, from the parents, from the home we are coming from. We've begun to give some kind of value to a system that is not going to help us. To the day we decide to look at our homegrown value and see how we want to progress, then we'll solve the problem too. We have lost that parenthood, parental guidance or societal guidance that an individual belongs to everybody in the society. At the moment now, you find it very difficult to allow your own child to be corrected by the environment. Now, lastly, we have a system that we've come to accept the fact that we are loyal to the system, not the system not loyal. Till the day we wake up and find ourselves interrogating ourselves, both the system and ourselves, then we'll begin to solve our problem. Now, why we have this people being recycled is because we find it difficult to challenge them. We find it difficult to bring them to books. We find it difficult to be able to make them account for the leadership we have given them. Now, is that bad that the youth today, let me come back to the north, that has been detrimental to their success. But he gives them some few naira notes and they'll be lost our value. So blame down from the system and our home as well. That's my own take on that.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Ibrahim. I particularly like how you brought in the home into this, how you brought in the family into this. I remember growing up, my father would make me read newspapers to him. It wasn't because he couldn't read. I mean, he's a blessed memory now, so my referring to him in the past tense. It wasn't because he couldn't read. It wasn't because he wasn't learned, but it was an opportunity also for him to open my mind to what was going on politically. How can we bring that back? How can we bring that? What's the word I'm trying to look for now? How can we bring back that sensitization and that awareness, especially from the home? Let's push it out. Let's start from the home.
So the entire thing that is affecting the youth is the current system we're running. And this system has been something that's been on for more than 10 years, more than 20 years. It's something that has been laid down, and it's something that is still being carried on, and nothing is being done to change this system.
When we talk about system, we are trying to blame, we are blaming nobody and indirectly blaming ourselves. I will say the family, because without the family, there won't be a system. The people you are complaining about that are the system, different families.
Mrs. Odola Aikomo, can you please come in here? Come in here.
Okay. More often than not, when we talk about issues that we have in our society, we tend to put the blame on the system. And I want to ask us, what constitutes the system? Does the system work alone? In a system, we have inputs, we have the process before we get an output. And every member within a society form a part of any of those components. And that is to say that before we point an accusing finger at the system, we should turn to ourselves. Have I played in this issue on ground? I've seen situations where government in the past get to the position of governance, and you see them repeating exactly this in the time. So it boils down to our value system. When we talk about our value system, I think it's from the family. It starts from the family. We cannot exonerate issues like this, because if you come from a family where love is sacrosanct, where responsibility is held in high esteem, no matter where you go, where integrity is key, you find yourself. Understand the fact that it may be difficult for you to run in a rotten environment. But oftentimes, we have seen some people that stand out in spite of the rottenness that we all talk about. So I think we should go back to our value system. And that is one. They are not doing this, they are not doing that, they are not doing right. Who are the they, if I could ask? Who are the they that are not doing what they're supposed to do? And in my little corner, what am I doing to ensure that things go the way it should go? As a mother, what value do I inculcate in my children? When my child comes back, a first degree holder, comes back with a brand new car, instead of me calling my village women to come and dance with me and celebrate, do I call the child aside and ask, what do you come about this car? Many of us take steps to do that. We blame we blame the people in government, but most of us, we help them to do what they do because of burden on their heads. When your wife is pregnant for 9 months, you don't think about how to cater for your wife's childbirth and whatever. You wait for the honorable in your village to come so that it can support you. Where do you expect him to get the money we from them for support?
Thank you, Mrs. Aikomo. Thank you. Valid point you have raised there. Adepoju, I know you want to say something. Please hold on. I want to hear. Wisdom, please hold on. Hold on. Let's hear from that. We have like 2-3 ladies in the house. Honorable, do you want to say something now? We were calling you earlier. You didn't hear us. Just a moment, Honorable. I asked you earlier, I said you have been in the center of work with youth in Enugu, with the work that you do. How does this all come together? How does it dissolve for you, especially when it comes to democracy, when it comes to sustainable democratic rules and views in Nigeria? What are the youths feeling? How are they thinking?
everybody has a responsibility. Um, the killing of the youth so far, youth are angry everywhere. Youth are angry not only in Enugu State, where I'm the director of AYA. Youth are angry everywhere. But we are not, we shouldn't be looking at the crisis or the anger of the youth, but the solution to this very particular problem. The solution, from my understanding, I believe everybody has a responsibility. Bringing it down to the family, like you said, the father has a responsibility, the mother has a responsibility, while the children have a responsibility to work out. Then also bringing it down again to the environment. The environment plays an important role to everybody, not only the youth, the children as such.
All right, Honorable, we will pause you there and come back to you. Let's take well, I know this person very well, so I'm going to call her out. She's very prosperous on Facebook. Victoria, so here you are in the midst of all of these panelists. So I'm going to get into that with this question. So there is a not too young to run bill that is presently in play. It was a bill and now a law. It's an act. So it's a law that must be acted upon. Nigerian youth, every one of them, if you're no more than 35 and above, or below, 18 to 35 and above, you can vie for political offices. However, how many people are taking advantage of this law? Can a law stand on its own? Law is made for man and not man for the law. Victoria, do you understand or do you think the average Nigerian youth understand the not too young to run law and how it can help in creating and maintaining sustainable democracy?
I think most of us are not ready. If we really want Nigeria to work hands on deck, like and young, it's not really about like the young people or maybe creating a special seat or not. Even the young ones, what are they seeing? What are they relating? I think before I used to have the mindset of like whenever I'm just with my mom, like if I enter politics, even me myself, I will be like this person. An average Nigerian youth, let us not even deceive ourselves. We need to like meet ourselves. We need to change a lot of mindset that we have, the things that we've been seeing. I was listening to Professor Mulumba, and I said the same thing. Like, even the youth now, when you give them the space, okay, go into this office, believe me, they will also behave like the ones there. We really need to purge ourselves, we really need to cleanse ourselves of like, the society is messed up. And I think the National Orientation Agency, they have their work cut out for them. No more jingles, no more adverts. I don't even know why they budget money to them. Those agencies, they just take money and they don't do anything to talk to NOA.
Another woman I want to bring in here, Nana Hamzat. Hamzat, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry, I'm biased. Yes, I know, but I want women to talk. Adekpaju, I'm coming for you. Just a minute. Just a minute. Let's hear Nana, weigh in on this issue. Nana, please go ahead. Let's hear your thoughts. I mean, we have the young ones amongst us who are crying every day. Victoria just said it is an entitlement mentality. What have you done to show for what you're asking for? If you want something, you have to work for it. How much work is being put into it? And is the system allowing them to do this work?
I just want to say one or two things about the youth, most especially here in our society, northern Nigeria. What is going on is that sometimes the youth wants to do in doing such kind of things, like they want to do their own on their own, but our leaders are the problem sometimes because they didn't back them, they didn't encourage them in doing such kind of things. Because sometimes when you met some people were like, I was with one guy there, he was telling me that he wants to be in such kind of thing, but the leader didn't even assist him in doing that thing. So the problem, of course, start fighting and destroying so kind of things right now, this season that is going on, due to the season of um destroying government property and so on and so. I was talking to some people like the young youth in our area, like all these things that you are doing, do you feel it in your? They said they none of their businesses, the leaders didn't want to hear what they want. So let them destroy what they want to destroy. What was talking me like, how can you imagine saying such kind of statement? Don't you are you not involved in the government property? He said no, because the leader didn't want them to, they don't want to listen to them, because many young people struggling to and take a job, leading to finance insecurity, such kind of insecurities,
Mm,
and uh, people feeling connected from the politics.
mm,
I mean, people, they are young ones are feeling disconnected from the politics, facing barrier, feeling that
it's not
their voice
heard.
is not heard. Yeah, that's
Mm,
what they are carrying, such kind of thing. So you see this kind of thing in here, and then sometimes I even blame the parents. Sorry, because our parents sometimes they have a part in their children. For instance, now a young child in a house coming up, this wants to supporting me. They even do this thing. You are waiting for like maybe the counselor or some leaders around the society to help you out for this, for this. How can you imagine such kind of things? Huh? The boy wants to build his own life, build his own. You have to back him up and encourage him, not depending on someone or on something else. This is it.
mm.
So I
All right.
can say this is the problem
Thank you.
occurring in our
In the
society.
in the north. Thank you so
Thank you
much
so much.
for bringing that in here for us. Our heart goes out to the northern part of Nigeria and what is happening in that area. Adepoju, wisdom, this is for you. Adepoju, please go first. And let me hear what your thoughts are. From what Hamza said, Nena said, taking our mind and reminding us what has happened in the last 1 week during the protests, of the carnage, of the destruction. Not too long ago in Lagos and other parts of Nigeria, we also saw that happen. And we saw the destruction that came after a protest, an agitation that started honestly and sincerely, but was hijacked at the end of it. My question to you is, at what point do we draw the line between law and order and disorder? Do those conversations come up when we are organizing this protest?
For the past couple of days, I've been following the trends of what is happening about the protests and the likes. Checking through the statistics, you realize that a very large percentage of the protesters are actually youths. And just like Aisha have actually pointed out, there are a lot of clips on the internet of seeing youths trying to like take their frustration and anger out on the public structures that we should actually be enjoying. Are you trying to destroy public utilities and stuffs, which is actually not making sense? Early this morning, I saw a clip on a platform where you see people within their community like trying to destroy the role structure in their community. Well, yeah, you tend to question the fact of law enforcement and you know security outlets when those things are that is criminal. To be frank, it's criminal. So if law enforcement agents are not really pointing out to those things, and what they should not be paying attention to is what we see them doing. We've been talking about the rotting community. Well, we see the community is rotting, right? But there are a lot of indices contributing to this. A family has its own sphere, ideology or orientation has its own sphere. I always for the community, we do say that probably the Nigerian community, our local ways of training our kids are actually better. Whereas in the Western world, where we claim their culture is, rotten or stuff, they have the best forms of democratic practices that we can see that we can actually try to emulate in the world today, even if not the best. So even though we have we have the concern that ideology, our cultural orientation are the best, whereas it's not producing what we need in our community.
All right.
So I think the governments, we still need to boil down to this, to like talk into this, because even if you are talking about the community, an average Nigerian youth is actually using for ways to themselves. They are not really concerned about the leadership of the community. What we want, what to do is how to sustain themselves.
Wisdom, do you want to talk about this? The disconnect we see between the average Nigerian youth and its community, not knowing whom his councillor is, not knowing whom their local government chairman is, not knowing whom their representatives are, both at the state and at the National Assembly, all fighting the president on issues that should be handled at the local government. What are your thoughts, Wisdom?
Talking about the disconnect, I wouldn't want to start discussing about the financial aspects, because if we are putting it side by side with what has happened in the Western world, most of these young persons, especially in the UK, I think in their last election, someone who was 22 years old made his way into the parliament. Would we say a 22 years old person was a millionaire? Was he a billionaire? Youths in Nigeria or in Africa per se, we are more interested in civic engagement. You only see us when it comes to protests. How about getting down to knowing, like you said, your councillor, getting down to hold your House of Reps member accountable? The issue for me is political apathy. Because when it comes to politics, there are two sides of politics, either conventional or non-conventional. It is conventional when it actually comes to exactly the point you're trying to raise. We're not talking about protest now. We're talking about involvement in politics. When we were beginning this topic, I think someone made mention of involving his friends in political discourse and all of that. How many of our youths attend unit meetings? How many of us attend our ward meetings? It's not just to come online, come to social media, and come to, I wouldn't call it blabbing, but because the majority of the politics that is being played is down in the community.
Absolutely.
And you'll be known in the community. Because you cannot effect the possible change that we need in Nigeria without you having an effective connection with the community. You cannot stay on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, and you raise salient points, and it gets no effect, because the people who should have this effect is the community. So it all boils down to political apathy. We have to shift from being non-approach to politics and come into the political sphere. And
Thank you.
Change is by being part of the change.
Thank you, Wisdom. Thank you. And as the hands are on the screen is how I'm calling. So pardon me. So you don't get upset. Just stay with me as we go on. I don't know your name, sir. I'm so sorry. Dell is what I can see on my screen here.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mr. Chinondu Nwokocha.
Thank you, sir.
I've listened to every speaker here, but I'll go with Mr. Wisdom. He's actually right, but let us don't forget that we still have family orientation about politics. That's one of the things we fail to understand. When you get to some families, when a child from a child will say, I want to be a governor, the mother or the father will scold that child immediately and say, in Nigerian politics, you don't get involved and all that. So most of the youth grow up without being aware of what leadership or politics is all about. So we need family orientation to help this youth involved in politics. Then I picked the not too young. For me, the not too young to run B only make wave during the enters. After that period, everything about that not too young information died totally. It died. So I feel that bill need more force. And I feel the federal government, I was thinking about this whole thing some days ago. I feel the bill they're supposed to pass is that in each state, some percentage of seats should be given to the youth. So age, this percentage, if we have, for instance, we have 30 House Assembly members, let's say 10 should be the youth from this age. So anyone should be rather old or young person. Not just blaming the youth of not participating, because there are a lot of factors that are making them not to come out. Is it the finance? If you want to run a councillor in River State without being sponsored by a godfather, you have to be financially buoyant. So all those things are discouragement. Even though you go to the meeting, just like Wisdom saying, you go to the world meeting of political gathering and everything. When it comes to the party to select a candidate, who will speak for you? Do you have the money to play around? Another thing again is that the tribal war among the youth is another problem. It's so much in this country. In every place, the Hausa don't want to align with the Igbos. The Yoruba don't want to align with the Hausas. Everybody want to pick side. Even when there's a good candidate coming out from this tribe that is better than my own side of tribe, the other youth want to make it to be tribal something. So these are a lot that is making the youth not to be effective in having any position. It's not all about attending political meeting. Me, I have been attending. I have been nothing ambition, but this year is finance and all things need to be put in place.
Let's look at the place of mentorship. Can we discountenance that? Can we have people who young ones are looking up to, who are grooming our young ones into political powerhouses? And how do we separate mentors from dream killers?
What is working is godfatherism. And sometimes when we talk about this godfatherism, we should also check both sides. Because I've seen let me use the system from the campus side. See, yes, I know that the youth are hungry for power, a lot of things, but I think our mindset matters. So, okay, some days ago I saw a video. Someone that I know has served together. I'm doing my postgraduate. Someone was speaking about the federal government. He was saying better Nigeria. But this is someone that during the small position I was doing during the school detail, he embezzled money. And he embezzled money that even the politicians cannot even do such. So this is people back on personal mindset. Then I also want to talk about you have built a system whereby if you're not violent inclined, you cannot own any political position.
That's sad.
If you're not violent inclined,
that's sad.
You can imagine 15 years of when I wanted to contest for further president, the people ahead of me were asking me, am I ready to join court? That I can't win an election, we cannot join court. These are starting from the grassroots.
Yeah.
Those people that are asking me those questions are from family.
But I want to ask this question to you.
All right.
Mrs. Ikomo, I'm coming to you. You dropped a chat on the group chat. We will get to that. But Mary, I want to ask you this. Does it bother you as a woman that we have very few representation?
All right. One major issues with women not being able to politically, I think it boils down to culture. Culturally, we have this idea that women are just people to give care and raise people. So we are not there to take over or to have power per se. So most times, the youth, even as a boy, you ask them, they will keep saying, no, women can't be in power, women are mean, women can be over, the women can be this, women can be that. So until that culture is killed, or should I say, or is set aside a little bit, and then view this person as an individual, as a person that is capable of leading.
Let me get to Wisdom, and then I will now get to Nena and also Mrs. Ikomo again. And I'm going to ask about the money politics. But my question will now be to you, what are the suggestions towards achieving a less monetized economy or politics as we have it in Nigeria as is? Can you give suggestions as to how we can get away from this money politics?
The most probable cause is The reason why politics is quite expensive in Nigeria is all boiled down to the culture of the people. I think why I'm placing it on the culture of the people is because we seem to be drawn to candidates who are financially buoyant. And it is no doubt, from what Engineer Haichuku said earlier, that you cannot play politics without money. But now, if you look at the last election, look at the candidate's fee for the House of Reps, look at the candidate fee for the House of Reps, look at it down to the president. In APC, you have about 100, you have about 60 something for the PDP. Let's not go down to parties. Despite the fact that there are youths who are so involved, so interested in handling positions, they cannot afford all this money. That was why when I was talking earlier, I spoke about we stepping out from the keyboards and coming to the fore. Because if we have more youths who are educated, not just being educated on formal education, we're talking about both informal education, people who understand the dynamics of politics and how it works, we can rally around the candidate even without money being spent. Like I said, in the UK, there was someone who came. In the UK, at least we were fourth of the parliament, 22 years, 26 years, 27 years, and 28 years.
Absolutely.
Did these persons spend millions where they were? It's because they had fellow youths rally around them. If we have fellow youths who are going to play a blind eye to the money politics and see that, yes, whoever we are sending forward to represent us, we believe in this person. We believe this person can relay our interest. We believe this person can stand for our interest. Like people have always been saying, yes, it boils down to the home, but I tend to disagree a bit. I'm not disputing that the home is a very important factor, but I tend to disagree because you could do a good job in a child. Being a youth means you have an independent mindset. You could do a good job in a child, and the child goes out and becomes an entirely different human being. Are we going to blame the parents?
No.
Some of these people who commit crimes today, look at their backgrounds, very, very good home-brought children. But they go out and do something different. So are we going to blame the parents? The focus of being a youth is your independent mindset. So youth should become independent, even down to the financial buoyancy in politics. If we can shift away from financial buoyancy in politics, yes, politics is, but if these men or these political godfathers are beginning to see the united front from the youthful populace, I think there will be a shift from those exorbitant fees to even more inclusivity in governance and politics.
In rounding off, one after the other, I'm going to just start calling our names. So I will tell you just 30 seconds and just say your goodbye. So we end it here. So I'm going to start with, I think, Mr. Nwokocha, who is Dell. So social media, now to everybody, social media can be used for both positive and negative. We've seen it. I don't need to give instances. How can we use the influence of social media more positively in Nigeria? What are the things that need to be done for us in this movement as we go on? Mr. Nwokocha, please start, please.
This information has caused more harm in the country than any other thing. Okay. It has triggered a lot of things. So our advice, assistance with the federal government, if they will do it the right way to regulate social media.
Social media, one good thing is that has its advantage and it also has its advantage. But a typical Nigerian man is greedy and selfish.
Thank you.
With the present trend now that is social media, people don't care about if the other person or destroy the home or destroy the state and all that. They are just after putting out a content that is false just to be among trends.
I think the way we can use social media more positively is by ensuring that the dependence of the mind, like Haichiko has said, the dependence of the mind, you must believe that whatever thing you're posting, whatever thing you're sharing should be verified because it will not end with you. It's a public space. It's going to affect the next person. So we should try as much as we can to verify information that we share, to also verify political impact and economic impact of what we share, on social media to the next person and to the government?
Nigerian youth today are just using social media to create content to just feed their pockets. I think we need more structures for fact check. Like currently, I know of Fact Check Africa, who the guys are job in the media space trying to check the quality of information that is being shared on the social media. So I think if we have more structures like this, more institutions like this, will go a long way in correcting things.
Okay, like how we can use the social media more better, like interactive civic engagement, stories on platform like we can share it on Instagram, Twitter, youth lead political campaign.
Okay.
And involving the campaign to hearing about those and so on. This is what I can say on it.
I believe when we are intentional and purposeful to be responsible on the social media, we can get things done. Regulation is good, but sometimes regulation can be taken to the extreme, and all of us will begin. I mean, it can be gagging sometimes. It can gag our freedom, as it were. And if we want to align with the freedom of information, freedom of speech, I don't think the regulation should be the area that we are going to look at. I think each of us should just make up our mind to be responsible in our engagement, even if there are family there. It is when you want your facts to be checked, or when you want to align with the checked facts, that you will work with it. I think all of us should be intentional and purposeful to be responsible in our use of social media. Social media is good, but it can be bad.
I couldn't have had any better group of panelists to help me do this today. Thank you so much, each and every one of you. We do appreciate your time. We appreciate the data that you have spent in doing this. I mean, you've been waiting for over 2 hours. That is a lot. We wish we can pay you back, but I think Nigeria will pay you back. And as some people will tell teachers, your reward might just be in heaven. Thank you for being with us today on the show. We will do this again now. So anytime we call on you, please just heed our call and be a part of it. Thank you, everyone. So looking ahead, sustained efforts to empower young Nigerians through education, mentorship, and policy reforms are essential for healthy political culture. By fostering greater youth participation, Nigeria can build a more dynamic and more responsive political system that will offer the country a pride of place in the Committee of Nations. This is an ongoing conversation and a clarion call for an embodiment of the growth of prosperity of a great nation, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us on this episode of All About Nigeria. Until next time, I am Romelia Esangbedo, urging you to stay informed and engaged.
Will you come join me?